We'll give it just a moment for everyone to join the session and get their audio all set up, and then we'll kick it off here in just a few moments. All right. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Tony Phelan. I'm the manager of MBA and Experience Talent here at Forté, and I'll be your host for this webinar today. Our webinar is titled The Things Nobody Tells You About Business School. So we're getting a little inside peek today. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about Forté. So we are fueling the future of business here at Forté. We have been empowering women for over 20 years since our founding in 2002. We've expanded access to business education and professional development, resulting in a very powerful network of women leaders worldwide. We have over 135,000 women that have been supported in earning MBAs, exploring career paths, and connecting with top companies. While progress has definitely been made, true gender equity in business is still a work in progress. So through our programs, conferences, and resources, we inspire the next generation of women business leaders and invite everyone to help advance this mission. As you're exploring your next step in your career, we invite you to join us at one of our free virtual MBA forums. These events will help you discover if an MBA is worth it by putting you in the room with people who do that work every day. You'll meet admission representatives from leading business schools and business professionals who've already made the decision that you're weighing right now. These are free to attend, so you can drop in as your schedule allows, join us from anywhere, whenever you can. And so you can register using that QR code that's on the screen. If you've already decided that an MBA is your next step, but you want support to build your best application, join MBA Launch. This is our application prep program designed to help you put your best application forward. And if you're applying soon and you're the kind of person who just needs the roadmap and a checklist, On Demand gives you that MBA admission strategy on your schedule. If you don't know a single other person going through this right now and it feels isolating, MBA Launch Accelerator gives you an actual coach in your corner, built to get you the application that gets you into round two. So you get 2 one-on-one sessions, weekly Ask Me Anything sessions, monthly town halls, a structured roadmap, and direct access to admissions officers and alums. All right, so we just want to do a big thank you to our MBA school sponsors for this particular webinar. Our sponsors are amazing. We could not do this without them. So we just want to put out a big thank you to these 6 schools you see on the screen right now. Okay, well, let's dive into the content. We will talk through the things nobody tells you about business school and hear it from the people who have gone through it. Okay, so we'll start with some intros. First, I'm going to hand it over to Anna from Georgia Tech. Anna, let's hear a little bit more about you.
Hey everyone, as Tony mentioned, my name is Anna. I'm actually a double jacket at Georgia Tech. So what that means is I also studied at Tech as an undergrad. I majored in supply chain operations and logistics management and minored in IT. It gets easier the more times you say it. And then after I graduated, I worked for Home Depot for a few years in product management before I took a leap, packed a backpack, and was traveling internationally for 5 years. I went across 5 different continents, did a variety of things. It was an absolute whirlwind before ultimately coming back to the States, pursuing my MBA. And I'm so excited to share that after graduation, I will be in human capital consulting at Deloitte. So really excited to be here with everybody.
Congratulations, that's so exciting. All right, our next panelist is Susan from the University of Washington.
Hi there, I'm Susan. Everybody calls me Sue. Originally from Peru. I'm part of the cohort of UDAP, if there's any Husky there. Before starting my MBA, I was like doing consulting for a Japanese IT firm. And like what I want to do after graduating is continuing my path in marketing. This is my last week at AWS, so I'm really excited to be able to come back next year. But if you like want to catch up after, I'm happy to help you because I'm doing that kind of pivot that maybe sometimes people are thinking to do when you are changing backgrounds. But yeah, happy to answer any question.
Thank you so much. And now over to Jackie from Vanderbilt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie Keschner. I'm a second year at Vanderbilt Owen. And originally, I got my undergraduate degree in English with minors in economics and global business from the College of William and Mary. So always loved working at the intersection between my communication strengths and my analytical skills. That's what led to my pre-MBA career in investor relations at an agency out in Newport Beach, working with microcap and small cap public company clients. After a consulting internship this summer, I'm looking to go full time into marketing to really double down on that communication focus. So I'm excited for the road ahead, and I look forward to discussing the overall business school journey with all of you today. Thank you.
Jackie. All right. Next, we have Casey from Johns Hopkins.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. My name is Casey. I'm at Carey Business School, part of Johns Hopkins, and I am a second year student. And my background a little bit, I actually went to Washington State University, so the enemy of the Huskies over there. But yeah, from the Pacific Northwest, I studied microbiology and then went into public health and did that for a number of years and was recently at a small boutique consulting firm doing social science research. I made the leap to the MBA program, and now I am full pivoting, full steam ahead, and I will be joining JP Morgan as part of their Chase Associate program next summer.
Awesome. Congrats on the new role. That's so exciting. All right. Next, we have Ria from Alliance Manchester.
Hi, I'm uh, I'm currently pursuing my MBA as a business. I'll be graduating in April 2027. And currently, I'm actually doing my internship at Rolls-Royce. I'm right here in the office. I bring 5 years of experience in technology consulting at ZS Associates. I work closely with Pfizer, delivering data-driven, tech-enabled solutions in the pharmaceutical space. Uh, Outside of work, any questions?
Thanks, Ria. And last but not least, we've got Vanshika from University of Virginia, Darden.
Hi everyone, I'm Vanshika Agarwal. I currently am a second year student at UVA Darden School of Business. I did my undergrad in economics, originally from India. And right before my MBA, I was working in real estate private equity. And this summer I interned at BCG, and I'm going there back full time next year. So that's a little bit about me. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have about my background and how to navigate coming from as an international student in the US right now. Oh, and I also did the Forté MBA launch program. So yes.
All right, we love to hear that. Thank you so much. Okay, let's dive into our questions for the panel. We do have some predetermined questions, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A from the audience. So as we are going through our session today, if you all have questions from the audience, please use the Q&A feature rather than the chat to ask your questions or to submit your questions. Things can kind of get lost in the chat sometimes, but the Q&A feature in Zoom is an easier way for us to grab those questions from you. So just wanted to put that plug out there. All right, so our first question is for Ria and Casey. So we'll start with you, Ria. What does a typical day look like for you in an MBA program? What are your courses look like? Any extracurricular involvement you might have, things you do for fun, social activities, all of that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So honestly, for me, no 2 days ever look like the same. Every day is different, and but I can paint you a picture of what is a typical one. So usually we have classes that run from 9 to 5. Normally we have 2 sessions per day. Recently, it's been strategy and competition in the morning and leading with people and organizations in the afternoon. So it's really a nice contrast actually. So one class have you thinking like a chess player about what's the market and what are the positioning today. But the other one, it makes you think about the human side of actually getting people to execute the strategy. And once these classes wrap up, that's when I believe the real MBA experience kicks in. Because most evenings, me and my group, my cohort, we all dive straight into our consultancy group projects that we have spanned over our entire curriculum. So this is where we test our classroom theory into a real client problem. It's intense, but it's also where I feel you gain most learning. Uh, and the fun part is also there. Of course, it's not just academics all the time. So on days where I have only one class, I usually swap that with the recording room because I'm also a host of a podcast at my university where I usually sit down with my fellow MBA students, alumni, or industry leaders. So, like, it's a great opportunity to learn from them, their unfiltered career stories, their insights, straight from people who have actually lived them. So every day is a different day. Some days I'm in the competitive strategy lecture hall. Some days I'm leading client projects. Some days I'm interviewing CEOs. Some days we go for a dinner. Some days we play outside. It's just amazing. It's structured, but it's never boring. So that's what I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Awesome. And I can follow up with that of what a typical day looks like for me. I know that fall one was like really busy. The first semester was insanely busy. Recruitment is already starting. It's go, go, go. There's coffee chats. You want to meet with people. And I remember at the end of my first semester being like, I'm falling into bed every night, so exhausted, but so happy. Especially because I come from a world where I knew nothing about business. So I was just trying to go to every event, trying to go to all the activities, really diving into coursework, doing certificate programs and venture strategy programs, getting involved with entrepreneurship, even though I don't want to do entrepreneurship. Just trying out everything I can and saying yes to everything that comes my way that I was interested in. Um, and so a typical day, I guess, looked like going to classes, maybe grabbing lunch with friends, going home, like doing some homework. But there was also a lot of social activities. I think that's something that surprised me was that there was a lot of social activities, just coffee chats, happy hours. Um, I don't know, going up to New York for, socials and events and things like that. So it will be busy. And I think hopefully in the second year, I can find a little bit more chill and balance is my goal.
Great. Thank you both for sharing that. That really painted a picture of like the variety of your days. So appreciate that. Okay, our next question is for Susan, and then Anna, feel free to jump in. What is the community like in your program? And how does your program help you make connections? How do you connect with alumni specifically? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, the foster cohort, it's a small one. So we are around a little bit more than 100 people, which means that we are a very tiny like cohort. You are able to learn everyone's name and everyone's background, which is really awesome. And it's a very diverse cohort, which allows you to have all the perspectives when you're like working on like assignments or any kind of project. How the program help us to make connections? There are different ways, and I think one that I really enjoyed is the mentor program. So Foster connects you to different executives to be like you can like be matched to get a mentor for more than 1 quarter and have touch points. So I was able to meet the VP of Amazon Music through this experience and get her insights in terms of like a marketing career, which is pretty awesome. But at the same time, there are like different opportunities through student clubs, kind of like get in touch with people that it's aligned to your professional like goals. But at the same time, career treks. Also, my school hosts career treks, so I was able to like apply to SF and visit companies and connect with alumni that are already working right now. So I think like the resources are out there, but as I think every program, you just like use also your coaches to get in touch with people that maybe is doing the same pivot as you, or maybe it's like able to answer the same questions. I really resonate with Casey said, like my background is in psychology, so any kind of like finance accounting thing was really like challenging, and being able to meet other people that kind of went through this similar path was great and helpful.
Yeah, echoing, honestly, it's very similar to Susan's experience. We're also a very intimate cohort. Within the second year class, there are 73 of us. So, you get to know everyone's names and also what they're interested in, and that really helps build your network. And then also through clubs and committees, different programs, there's such an emphasis on the alumni committee, right? At the end of the day, getting your MBA, the biggest value proposition, at least in my opinion, is the network that you're forming. And so different clubs will bring in panelists, and most of the time they are alumni, which allows you to just really explore like if you were to try out what a day in the life would look like, it's a great opportunity for you to do that. Also, a lot of our alumni tends to stay very concentrated in Atlanta. So it's easy for us to have that in-person connection. One example, I was a part of the Tech Forward conference that we planned, and my job was reaching out to alumni to try to invite them. And someone specifically from Google wasn't able to attend, but he said, "Hey, I can't join, but would you like to come by and I'll give you a tour of the Google headquarters in Atlanta?" And it was a great opportunity for me to just pick his brain about what that experience looks like. And then another really exciting thing that we do to foster community is something called hobby nights. And it's an opportunity for everyone in the cohort to share something that they're really passionate about, and to take on this leadership role of planning that program. It's such a fun way to get to know people outside of the classroom, and to really remember that every single person has a story and has passions, and just to connect with them on a more personal level. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of Georgia Tech.
I love that. Thank you. All right, so let's dive into, we've heard a little bit about the fun side. Let's hear a little bit more about the classroom. So this question will be for Jackie and then Benchika. What do candidates or our audience today need to know about classes and coursework in your MBA program? What is the classroom like for MBA students? How might it differ from what they might have experienced as an undergrad or in other types of programs? So we'll start with Jackie.
Sure, thank you. Happy to. So in terms of the classroom experience, a lot of it will vary based on your particular program and cohort size. There are some that will be exclusively in the case method. There are some that tend to run across a lot of different types of course formats. So for us at Vanderbilt Owen, a lot of it's more discussion and lecture based. We're reading cases, but it's not necessarily taught in like the classical case method. We also have a couple of more experiential learning classes, as well as you get into more of the electives. And so it can really depend on the particular case and classroom environment that you're looking for and that suits your learning style best. And I mean, in terms of how a lot of these will be structured, a lot of the first half, especially of your first year, will be focused on your core classes in accounting, finance. For us, it was statistics as well, but a lot of the core classical business classes that are going to be the foundation of what you build upon in the electives that are closer along the lines of what you would want to focus on career-wise. And so you can take your selection both in terms of your particular learning method and the types of courses that you want to pursue beyond those core classes to keep specializing your knowledge, and also dive into some things that you might not be able to try during the course of your working career that you can now try in a safer, more learning-focused environment among a close-knit set of peers and be able to experience it that way.
Just adding on to that, agreed with Jackie, like the first year is usually core and then it follows with electives. But I think my biggest takeaway was knowing that MBA classroom is much more interactive than what I expected or what I had experienced in my undergrad or in my school. At Darden, you're not just sitting listening to a professor for 90 minutes because Darden is entirely case-based. Most of our classes are fully cases. We do have some simulations here and there, but like all classes, whether it's accounting or finance or private equity versus like a more leadership class, all of them are case-based, and we have cases for every class. And so you're expected to come prepared, have an opinion, willing to defend it. And because a huge chunk of our grade is also dependent on class participation, usually close to 40%. So along with the academic part of it, you also get very used to speaking up in class, speaking up in a bigger cohort because our usual class size is close to 70 people. And I also think that the beauty of an MBA classroom is that you'll have people who are so experienced in the cases that you're discussing as opposed to an undergrad or school where everyone is at the same level as you. So your people will come with like very real background experiences with the real opinions and things that they've seen in their practical life, which aids to just, your practical or like your theoretical learning that you'll have based on those cases. So that's been my learning out of an MBA. So my recommendation when you're selecting which schools to apply is seeing what the academic load looks like in every school, because Darden is definitely on the more intense side. And that definitely cuts into your social life and recruiting commitments and just becomes like a whole big mess of time management, which is definitely a helpful skill to have long term.
That's really helpful. Thank you both. Okay, diving into our next question. You kind of started talking a little bit about this, so this was a good segue. So we'll start with Casey and then go to Ria. How do you balance academics with all of the other things like social, professional activities? How do you decide what takes priority while still trying to maintain, your academic status and still do well in the classroom? So yes, we'll start with Casey and then go to Ria.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of actually the first things that our school told us is this, don't expect to get like a 4.0. Like it is really challenging. They can only give out so many A's. And so I learned very quickly that don't stress about the grades. As long as you're trying your best and you're putting in your best efforts, B plus versus an A, it really doesn't matter. No one is asking about your GPA, and I guess maybe unless you're going into like, I don't know, investment banking or things like that where they want to see A's in specific classes. But I just really learned early on to try my best, learn, because it's not fun going into an exam feeling like you know nothing. So I tried to get to a point where I felt comfortable to take the quiz or take the exam, but I also wasn't putting pressure on myself to completely hone down on academics entirely, as long as I felt comfortable with what I was learning. I think you'll also realize that some of the classes you like better than others, and some classes won't not serve you in your career, but some classes are just not going to be things that you take forward into your career. And so I really wanted to focus energy and efforts into things that I knew nothing about, like finance, accounting, really hard, especially when I had no background in that. So really just trying to put efforts into the classes where I'm like, I need to learn this in order to move forward, but not stressing myself out with the nitty-gritties. But I feel like this question is kind of like the piece of the pie where you hear an undergrad where you can choose between like sleep, friends, and class, where it's like you're not going to be able to balance perfectly your academics and your social and your professional activities. And at some points, they're going to be conflicting with each other. And so, kind of a mantra that I always ask myself is, will this serve me? And am I really truly interested in it? So I learned pretty early on that I come from a background in public health. I don't really want to explore health anymore. That's not really in my domain. So I was able to cut out student orgs or events that were like more health focused and say those don't really serve me. And I'm going to save my energy for other things. Some people went out for bar crawls till 2 a.m. Is that really what I want to be doing? Now that I'm in my, a little bit older in my cohort? Probably not. So I'm gonna let everyone else go do that. And I'm gonna go to bed at like 10 p.m. is my thing. And so just like really picking and choosing and saying, is this really what I want to do? And is it gonna serve me? because sometimes you'll sit and do a coffee chat. And there were days where I definitely didn't want to sit and do a coffee chat. But I'm like, that is something that serves me. And so sometimes you have to do the things that you don't necessarily want to be doing. But thinking about, will this serve you? And will it serve you well? And also, how do you preserve your energy? So, just really being picky and decisive about things, saying yes to as many things as possible as you can in the first cohort or in the first semester really saved me so that I could really pick and choose what things I wanted to continue exploring. But once you start discerning what things you are interested in, then it's time to like narrow down and hone in, and focus on what you really want to be doing. I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Casey. I can totally relate to you as well. It can be very, very overwhelming when you start your MBA and like you're juggling between a lot of like classes, and then you have group projects, individual projects. You also have to pursue your hobby. You also have to network. So there are a lot of things that you have to do, and prioritization is what helps. And I think for me, I'm a very organized person, thankfully. So I usually always have an Excel tracker with me that I usually just track all of my assignments on all of my deadlines in an Excel tracker. It just makes my life very simple, because you're always juggling between a lot of academics, group projects, reading multiple modules, and having all of it in one place, it just really helps to stop the panic before it actually starts. And weekends are usually where I do my heavy lifting. So I usually work through a lot. Like there are usually a lot of case studies in our classes. So on weekend nights, I sit down and go through all the pre-reads, just to ensure that I understand properly when I go to the classes. And um, I think the only way you can survive an MBA, I think, is by being super organized with your things. Because it's not just academics. Academics is just one part of MBA experience. So what I do is I make sure that I also protect time for everything else too. So I play tennis, I play paddle regularly, and it's very honestly, it's very important to me to clear my head. It's very less about the sport, but more about my mental health. And I'm also a part of a community called Manchester Young Professionals. So, um, and of course, like networking events also keep on happening around Manchester and London. And whenever I can, I usually just go there and attend those events because those are really helpful. And building a network through your MBA is one of the most important things. So, yeah, I think I'd just say that it's less about finding the perfect balance every single day, and it's more about being very, very intentional, know what needs your focus, block time for it, and protect the things that keep you energized outside the classrooms too.
That is great advice. Thank you both for your answers to that question. All right. Next we have a question for Jackie, and then we'll go to Susan after that. I know it might be hard to pick one, but I'm going to ask you to pick one. What's been the most rewarding activity or event or experience that you've gone through in your MBA program so far?
Yeah, gosh, that is a hard one. But in terms of, I would say when I reflect back and I think about what I'm involved in currently, the number one thing that sticks out is just my capacity as a recruiting experience ambassador. And in that capacity, very similar to capacity in which I'm speaking with all of you today, I get to talk with prospective students who want to learn more about our program, answer questions on similar webinars to this one, and welcome them when they come to our campus for both welcome weekend events and things of that nature, and also just everyday class visits. And we take them to lunch and we get to learn a little bit more about their backgrounds and answer questions about the program. And that's valuable both for the interpersonal interactions, but also because, as I think many of us can reflect on, applying for your MBA and navigating that journey is just such a vulnerable process. And people come to it from all sorts of backgrounds, both personal, professional, if you're coming from a more classical business background, or if you're making a complete pivot and jump, there's a degree of just betting on yourself and vulnerability in there. I mean, I was navigating some complex family and professional circumstances at the time that I was applying. And just knowing that other people walk the road before you and are ready to welcome you in, and that there's a school and a community that is perfect for you and your unique path to give you a nice springboard into the future is something that feels really comforting. So being able to pass that on to future generations of cohorts, or even just to have somebody feel welcome on campus, if that's the one and only time you get to see them, is incredibly rewarding and a very meaningful connection that I hope to continue fostering.
Jackie, I really love your answer because it's really related about what I was about to share. I know that everyone heard this phrase that said it takes a village to raise someone. I think it takes a village also to finish your MBA because it's such a journey that put you in a position where you are vulnerable. And something for me that was like a memory really special, really rewarding is the people that I have met through this journey. And I remember it was December, I was about to go back to hometown, and just like a recruitment process came out for me. I had less than 2 weeks to prepare, and I have like 5 or 6 finals. And I remember that the one that I was really struggling was finance. Of course, my friends told me to focus on my interview. And after I finished that, I remembered I came to a small study room, and they were like ready to walk me through all what I needed to know about finance to kill that final exam. And I think that memory is just like very special for me because it shows you how you build those connections, but also it's people that has your back, like backup, and is there to help you through this. So I think that's the most rewarding thing about the MBA, because you're also able to do the same for others and to help prospective students to navigate this very challenging journey, but really a special one too.
Those are great examples. Thank you both for sharing those. And our last question before we dive into some Q&A from the audience, what do you wish someone had told you before you started on day one? So we'll start with Vanchika for this one, and then I'll have Anna finish it.
For me, I wish someone had told me to breathe. We have heard from like everyone on the panel today about how demanding an MBA can get and how you're juggling multiple things. So just knowing that you don't need to have your entire MBA figured out on day one. I feel like I had a lot of pressure knowing that I need to know exactly what I want to do in terms of my career, in terms of my summer internship, what are the clubs I want to join, what's the grade I want to get, what are the kind of friends I want to make. But honestly, you have these whole 2 years to figure everything out. People intern somewhere else, join full-time somewhere else, people switch friends, you may end up making so many friends over the 2 years, which will change. The school will have a ton of opportunities for you to socialize and meet varied people who are your seniors, alums, juniors, all across. And same with classes, I think with an MBA, I've learned to figure out like 1 week at a time. That's been my strategy. So I'll have my calendar planned for the week, and everything in my life is on my calendar. Even my gym time, even my lunches are on my calendar. And that's how I manage. So just planning 1 week at a time is how you are able to figure your MBA life out. So I think one advice is just to breathe. It's overwhelming, but you'll get through it and you'll feel really proud of yourself when you look back 6 months that, oh, I was able to do all of this in such a short frame of time.
Breathe is such a good answer. I think building off of that, also just being kind to yourself, and rejection happens. I wasn't really exposed to that concept before getting my MBA, and it was really, really hard. Well, that's not to say that I haven't experienced rejection in my life, but as far as with under the umbrella of your MBA, it was really hard for me not to compare myself to everyone around me. And for months, they're getting all of these interviews and people are already getting offers. And it took a while for me. I was getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And then all of a sudden, December, January, boom, it all happened at once. But I had to really, really fight the urge to feel this dejection of like, oh my God, maybe this was the wrong decision, or maybe this is just not the right fit for me. And instead had to remind myself that no, like the right thing will come along. You just have to keep putting yourself out there, and keep trying, and it will work out. And it did.
That's great advice. Thank you for sharing those tips and tricks, things that you wish you had known before diving in. So let's get into some audience questions. So audience, if you have questions, again, put them in the Q&A so that they are easy for me to kind of grab and feed to our panelists. But there's one in the Q&A right now that I want to address that says, why did you pursue an MBA? Why did you make that decision? And then I want to add on to that a little bit. Was there something that stood out to you about your program specifically, and why you chose to pursue your MBA there? So anyone that wants to jump in, feel free.
I guess for me personally, it was because I was coming from a public health background. And so I did a lot of like research, focus groups, interviews, surveys, things like that. But in order to make the pivot into industry and not really like nonprofit and healthcare work, I really had to go get the MBA to do that. I think that's something that was really eye-opening to me is that as I've been going through the MBA program, like I have the quantitative skills that I need, but a lot of industry is just really looking for like that MBA or that business acumen or experience. And I think it has been really helpful. Learning the language, learning the lingo of a business has been wildly helpful, but for me, it was necessary in order to pivot out of the health and nonprofit space.
For me, very similar to Casey, I think I decided to do my MBA because I was in real estate before this, which was a niche of itself, and it was very difficult to move out of it. And so I felt like MBA was probably the only way for me to like change gears and figure out what I actually want to do long term in my career. And then I can always go back to real estate if that's what I want. But just having that flexibility to try a few more industries and a few more functions is the reason why I did MBA. And then why US was just I wanted to move out of India, and MBA again is one of the better ways to move out of the country, just to get that global exposure. And I would say that one thing that stood out for me was really the case method. And it's so ingrained now because we read so much about so many companies, so many leaders, that now if I'm on an airplane, I try to think, oh, I wonder how this company operates and how this works into this operation. And that's just how my brain is wired now, which is just like really funny. But I think that's the major benefit that MBA has done to me, just in terms of adapting my thinking to a more business oriented, and doesn't have to be qualitative or quantitative, but just more of a business mindset and curiosity about how businesses or the world operates.
I mean, if I can add on to that and talk about like kind of the idea of mindset too. So the reason I pursued the MBA was because I was at a smaller firm before, and I had the opportunity by being at a small firm to move up really quickly and advance. But both because one, I was coming from a humanities background originally, and I was learning business kind of ad hoc and being successful with that, but wanted to strengthen my overall foundation for future managerial roles. And two, realizing that I was still pretty early in my career and didn't have the tools set at that point to develop my own managerial style and think about, when I think about the overall presence, like how do I want to show up in the workplace and all those things. As I'm thinking about these questions, coming across in Vanderbilt Owen's program that they offer a leadership development program where you have both coaches who are at the school, and they can also pair you with executive coaches that you don't need to pay extra for anything, who can like meet with you individually at a set number of appointments for each year and talk about what your goals are for developing your own managerial style and pushing you in the direction in which you want to grow. Having that personalized approach within a smaller program was something where I thought that's the perfect kind of bridge I need at this point in my career to feel more confident going forward as a leader. So in addition to developing both like the strategic kind of managerial toolkit for the future, having that personalized assistance with developing your own style was really helpful as well, and was what made Vanderbilt stand out to me to pursue the MBA.
I love that. And then I think a common theme is pivoting. right? The MBA serves as a jumping off point in this trajectory for you to switch into an industry that you're interested in. And then I know we've talked a lot about learning in the classroom. I also really enjoy learning outside of the classroom. So something that I was drawn to specifically at Tech was the number of practicums that we offer and the partnerships that we have with companies around Atlanta. So the ability to really try on different things and to see what it is to actually work in the business world and to put these skill sets that we're learning in the case mindset to test. That was something that I was really excited about as well.
All right. Well, thank you all for your answer to that one. And keep the questions coming in, audience. We've got a little more time, but another question that I'd love to hear from some of you on, or all of you, if you want to jump in. What if somebody knows that they want to maybe switch to industry or they want to pivot in some way, but they're not quite sure what they want to do? What advice do you have for them as far as one, selecting a business school, and then two, once you start business school, it feels, as you've all talked about, like there's so much happening. How do you reflect on and decide which path to choose as far as career goes? So I know that was kind of a long question, but basically, what advice do you have for people who are not quite sure what they want to do in the future?
I can jump in. For me, I think what helped was so, especially at Darden, I'm sure in other schools as well, you'll have career sessions for each of the industries. So we'll have consulting 101, we'll have tech 101, we'll have MGM, which is basically general management 101. We'll have investment banking 101, we'll have asset management 101. So you have like all these sessions which are held, which are nothing else but for you to familiarize yourself what does an investment banking even mean before you decide that that's what you want to do, and same with like other fields. And they also tell you how the recruiting works, what do the companies or the roles look like, and then you have alums and career coaches for each of these fields that you can go and connect with one-on-one to further know about their experiences and how essentially the school places. So I believe you have like a good solid a month and a half or a little more before you actually have to decide on what you may want to do. And something that at least Jarden emphasizes on for students is always to parallel path. So even if you decide, hey, I want to go do consulting, they always encourage you to have a parallel path in terms of what else you may be interested in, because things may or may not work out for you. So you have those options to sort of have your leg in like two places instead of just the one career route that you may want to proceed. And then there's always optionality to then further pivot later down the road, or like even after your summer internship that, oh, I just didn't enjoy my summer internship and this is not the road that I want to do. So there's always that flexibility, and the school career team is always honestly there to help you out along with the alums.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say also the most important thing is to keep an open mind. You don't know what you don't know, and you never know if there's something that might surprise you. And I would also take advantage of coffee chats. Like, I personally think that approaching those one-on-one conversations with curiosity and also intentionality, and having an idea of what it is that you want to learn. I know I've said this before, but genuinely trying on what they're doing and see whether it resonates with you, see whether it excites you. I think that figuring out what a day in the life looks like for someone and then imagining yourself doing it, that's a really good test to see whether or not that's an industry that you want to explore further.
I also think something to add in is that your first job out of your MBA does not have to be your last job. So I think that that's something to like really keep in mind, is that you can pivot, you can go different directions even after your MBA. I don't necessarily know what I want to do. And I think something that I'm very grateful and fortunate for is that when I was hunting for the summer internships or thinking about jobs, thinking about like the company, the culture, the fit of the company, I think is also really important. So at least I know at JP Morgan Chase, like people switch to different departments all the time. I just saw a LinkedIn post from one of my colleagues who was like, I joined the fraud department 2 years ago and I knew nothing about fraud. So like, but I know that the company is open to kind of those pivots, those changes, people making different directions. And so just knowing that your first job out of MBA does not have to be your last job, but also maybe like looking and being open to companies who are open to these changes and are open to people moving in different directions and having mobility is also really important.
Yeah, I believe that having an open mindset is really helpful because it's really easy to hear everywhere that, oh, you should like follow the consulting path, or no, you should follow the tech path. Oh, maybe banking is the answer for you, and many people telling you what you need to do. So I think that even having the time to do the self-reflection, it's really important, and you set your priorities, and even like asking yourself, do I see myself living in the West Coast? Do I see myself living in the East Coast? I think those questions, just taking the time to answer yourself, it's important before like going and jumping and looking and diving deep into all the amount of information that it's out there. And the second thing that I will add is talk to people from the school, even if you are not like thinking about applying. I think it's really important just to get a sense of what the program offers you, and you can ask like very straightforward questions too, like how is the day to day, like what happened if I fail an exam or something, is the end of the war or something. That kind of questions I will give you also a better overview of what you're looking for and what is important to you. And I think that will be more helpful once you start navigating or start even the program.
Yeah, I feel that it's very important to keep an open mind, and I think everybody has mentioned about that, keeping an open mind. I think I can actually give you an example because I I was a tech consultant before I joined MBA, and during MBA I realized that I wanted to experience different functions or different industries. So I was in pharma, I was doing tech consulting, and right now I'm doing my internship at Rolls-Royce in civil aerospace in HR. So it's completely different from what I was doing, and now I'm doing an entirely different thing. So I believe that it's more about experimenting as well. You just kind of navigate your way through the careers team in your university. Most of the universities have careers teams, so just have those chats, meet with people. Networking definitely helps. Talking to different people with different perspectives, 100% help with identifying what you really want to do. And I think that's where you kind of also learn what your interests are.
Great. Thank you all for jumping in on that one. I think we have time for one more question, or not even a question, but I would love for anyone who wants to jump in with just one last parting piece of advice or encouragement for somebody who is stepping into this MBA journey. So anyone who wants to offer a little last going away piece of encouragement.
I mean, I would say just trust yourself. Trust that even if you don't know whether you are coming into the program with a very clear set of expectations in terms of what you want to target for the internship and beyond, even if you're in your internship and you realize maybe I don't like this as much as I thought I would going in and I need to pivot, even if you're navigating the application process and you're thinking, is this the right time to either leave a career I love or to make the leap into something new? Know that you're going to figure it out. You're going to find the right community of people around you who are going to support you through that journey. And as you're having these different conversations in coffee chats or in more formal settings, you never know what that next connection will be that can maybe enhance your path and at least either be a source of community or perhaps a source of inspiration for what you want to do going forward. So just know it's all coming. Everyone here and at your future communities are rooting for you. And yeah, you have everything within you and are going to continue to develop to continue to grow in your career through the MBA journey.
I think my advice will be ask for help. Always be open to ask for help and look for someone, even if it's career services, even if it's like your classmates, alums, anyone. I think being open to ask for help and be confident on saying, "Oh, I don't know how to do this, so I need to learn how to do a small talk." As an international student, I needed to do that. I think you're gonna get like very surprised about how people wants to help others. So I think that's my biggest advice, because it would make your experience so much easier to have the support and the advice from everyone. That is, having someone on your corner is always important.
I like to try to, I have this mantra. It's they would be lucky to have me. I think just try to keep that in mind that no matter what you choose, no matter where you go, they would be lucky to have you. Hold on to that.
I think some piece of advice that looking back on, is like learning how to say no. And also finding shortcuts. And what I mean by that is like, oh, I need to go to the gym because it's been a while. I also need to listen to this lecture. I'm gonna listen on the treadmill. So just like small shortcuts like that, or like Costco has amazing pre-made meals that you can just stick in your oven. So like relying on things like that, or just putting blinders on to like the dirty pile of clothes on your floor. Like that's a tomorrow problem. So I think it's just like learning how to say no to things, learning to be comfortable and okay with like the house is messy and it will be messy for another couple days. And like that is what it is, and it's fine. And also like learning to say no to things if you're less just like I'm at the end of my rope and the candle is burning on both ends, just learning to say, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm sure I will have like an ounce of FOMO, and no, I'm going to stay in and watch a movie. Things like that. Just learning to say no and protecting your peace.
Yeah, and just like add on to like watching the movie piece, I think like it's okay to have a day off. Like you're not going to be 100% every day. Um, and you can take breaks in between. You can go on vacations. A 2-day break is not going to like wreck your chances or move it the other way. So yeah, just be kind to yourself, as Anna said earlier, and yeah, give yourself some grace and take that time off.
Well, thank you all so much. This was such a great session. So many awesome pieces of advice in here and learned experiences and different perspectives. So we really appreciate you all being here, and appreciate our audience for attending today and asking some great questions. I'm going to share my screen really quickly here. So this webinar will be available by visiting our YouTube page. If anyone would like to rewatch or share with a friend or go back and listen to a certain part, this will be available on YouTube. So, so yeah, thank you everyone once again. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll hopefully see you soon at future Forte programming. Bye, everyone.
You.
Thank you for
Thank you.
hosting.